Hi and hello, folks. This is Sri, and welcome to Behaviour Analysis with Brownie. Now, while everyone else is busy binge watching Stranger Things or debating why Wagner looks like he skipped moisturizer for 20 years, here you are, listening to my podcast. A choice I deeply respect because trust me, this topic is actually spicier than the other episodes we've ever had. So let's get started! So, the topic we're going to talk about today is positionality and power in behavior analysis. So, what is positionality? In simple terms, it's an invisible lens you carry everywhere that shapes how you see the world. That lens varies from person to person. It can be your gender, your age, culture, ethnicity, language, class, education, family, religion, socioeconomic status. Okay. Basically, every identity you walk around with, even the ones you didn't choose. Let's take an example. When Taylor Swift released Anti Hero, my favorite song though, some people viewed it as empowerment, some viewed it as past trauma, some thought it's overrated, some immediately Googled her outfit cost. Same song, but different interpretations. Because everyone's positionalities shape what they notice and what values to them and what stands out to them when they see or hear things that influence their interpretation and decision making. Hello, it's me. Wait, that's not the Taylor Swift song I was talking about. Oh, God. Well, okay. Now moving on to why positionality is important to behavior analysts. As behavior analysts, our lens, which is a positionality, it matters because we hold power in our relationship with clients and caregivers because we are the ones who make the behavior support plans, who selects the goal, write intervention plans, define target behaviors, and decide what progress looks like. Our positionality can influence every one of those decisions. Yeah, that's true. Which means our positionality can quietly shape the entire direction of the client's treatment plan. I'll give you an example scenario later in this episode. So, here's a definition of what positionality from Queen's University and the University of Saskatchewan has said. Positionality refers to where one is located in relation to their social identities, including gender, race, class, ethnicity, ability, language, environment, and socioeconomic status, which shapes our understanding and interaction with the world. This includes our knowledge, perspectives, and teaching practices. Now, power is on the other half of this conversation. It's simple though. Power is the institutional, structural, and role based influence we hold over others. And our positionality can influence the power we hold. Well, technically, both positionality and power are interrelated. Now, let's look into what the literature has to say about it. As I was reviewing these articles, I realized that positionality and power aren't just academic ideas. They are behavioral variables that operate across everything we do as a behavior analyst. Connors et al. In 2019 points out that some of the social identities we hold as a behavior analyst is much narrower than the diverse population we serve, which means many of us enter practice without fully recognizing how our own social identities, biases, and reinforcement history shape our clinical decision making. Hilton et al. In 2021 add that these identities and learning histories are not random. They are reshaped by Western academic norms and instructional models, meaning that the professional identity we develop in ABA is already embedded with a specific cultural framework because before we ever meet a client. Well, I personally think it's because ABA is not well established in other countries like Western countries. I can say that as a girl from India.
Wait a minute.
Well, a woman from India, that really stands out to me because ABA graduate program simply doesn't exist there, which shows how geography and training access becomes part of our positionality as well. Fong et al. In 2016 makes a key point here. Awareness about one's own identities is a discriminated operant, meaning it's a learned skill where we tackle the contingencies of reinforcement and punishment that shaped us and the people around us. When we can tack those contingencies, we start understanding why clients value certain behaviors, like high academic achievements, family involvement. In some client families, they insist on prayers before they do any activities or community activities, because these are behaviors reinforced by their culture, religion, schooling, or school groups. And when we turn that lens on ourselves, we notice the same thing. Something like, I value punctuality because lateness was punished in my home, or I prioritize independence because my culture reinforced it. None of these patterns appear out of nowhere. They are the product of our own learning histories. When you put all the articles together, a clear theme emerges. Positionality shapes professional behavior. Power is inherently built into the practitioner's role, and identity based biases are always present. The goal isn't to eliminate these biases, it's impossible, but to recognize them, tack them, and make sure they don't quietly guide our interventions without our awareness. Moving on to the strategies and suggestions to address the positionality and power. Here's what I've started to think and understand about positionality. It's something we can't really get rid of, but we can manage it. It's just like an ongoing health conditions. You can pretend it doesn't exist, but with the right steps and early awareness, you can control it and sometimes even prevent complications. Positionality works the same way. We can remove our identities, our learned histories, but we can recognize them early and make sure that they don't quietly shape our decisions in ways that aren't helpful to the client. That's exactly what Hilton et al. In 2021 did in their paper on diversity, equality, and inclusion initiatives in ABA education. Their main point was awareness has to start early in ABA programs, not later in the field. And what I love in that is they actually did something about it. At Endicott College in the USA, they surveyed faculties and students, looked at what was missing in their curriculum, and made real changes. They added mandatory DEI training, brought in speakers from different cultural backgrounds so the students get an idea about different identities and different perspectives of like different cultures. And even they taught cultural considerations into the way they teach core content like functional behavior assessments, FBA. Imagine learning FBA with the understanding that cultural norms, both you and your clients, matters throughout the whole process. I love that approach. Fong et al. In 2016 added another important idea. They explained that cultural awareness isn't just a mindset, it's a behavioral skill. It's the ability to look at your own reinforcement history and your identities and say, oh, that's why I value this. Or that's why this behavior feels appropriate or inappropriate to me. It also means doing the same for the client. When we focus on the client's cultural and diversity relevance of the goal we select, it helps us avoid letting our own identity bias take over. Then we have Delgado et al. In 2023 who talk about what to do when cultural values clash. Because honestly, it happens. This suggestion is to use a pragmatic, culturally responsive approach. Basically, instead of pushing what we think the target behavior should be, we sit down with clients and caregivers and make decisions together, which is practically possible. It insists on shared decision making and it respects the fact that their reinforcement histories matters just as much as ours. And finally, O'Neill et al. In 2023 remind us that one of the best ways to close cultural and diversity gaps is through feedback-driven practice. Ask clients and caregivers if the goals make sense to their culture and their identities. Ask if something feels off and adjust based on what they say. They also emphasize the importance of bi-directional relationship, which I think is so important. It means that our personality, sorry, our positionality affects them, but their positionality affects us too. It's not one way power dynamics, it's both sides shape the process. We need to acknowledge that, of course. So, overall, all these articles point to the same idea. What are they? Positionality is always there, but it doesn't have to be a barrier if you work towards it. If we catch it early, reflect on it, and involve clients in every step, we can deliver ABA that feels respectful, that respects their identities, they're culturally grounded, and genuinely meaningful. Stay tuned for the scenario that I was talking about earlier. Imagine you're working with an 11-year-old boy named Samir. His family recently immigrated from Somalia, and their positionality is shaped by cultural values like humility, soft-spoken communication, and strong family independence. In their home, children are expected to speak quietly and avoid direct eye contact when they talk to elders. Now, think about your own positionality as a behavior analyst. Your training probably reinforced eye contact, clear verbal communication, and independence as important social skill. So, when Samir avoids eye contact and looks at his mother before answering a question, it's easy to interpret that that there is a delay in communication. But when we recognize positionality, we understand that Samir's behavior isn't a deficit, it's a reflection of his cultural learning history. So instead of pushing eye contact or assertive speech, the more culturally responsive approach would be to collaborate with his family and build communication skill that fit their values, like responding when spoken to, using gestures confidently, or participating in shared routines. This small shift, noticing the family's positionality and adjusting our own, prevents us from letting our professional power override their cultural norms. And it leads to goals that are meaningful, respectful, and socially valid. Coming to the end of the podcast, we are into take home messages. Let's start it. Okay, so number one, you cannot avoid positionality, like we know that, but rather you can address before you make an intervention plan. It's like your positionality, your social identities you carry, they're like a backpack that you can't take off when you talk to someone. So it stays with you forever. Power is built into your role. You just need to channel it that works best for you and the client. And the third one is actually when you meet a client or a family member or a caregiver, or even when you talk to someone, just reflect on your, like, do a self reflection. Just reflect on your positionality and your social identity. And just think how that affects your interpretation towards someone behavior. If we start practicing it and if we start doing it, I think we will be a very good and way better behavior analyst in this profession. Alrighty, I'll see you on the next episode. Go watch Stranger Things. Bye. See ya.